Welcome to United Network News, the official news channel for CARE, the Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth. I'm Sunny Galt. At UNN, you get the real news. Through our field messengers, we show you the truth about what's really taking place in our communities. We also bring you stories to help you remember who you are and why you're here, as well as regional stories that impact the people. And our World Situation Report reveals what's happening throughout the multiverse. We are here to restore Earth. In the U.S., it is Friday, January 19th, 2024. We're taking a trip to Japan. This art exhibition offers a unique sensory experience for the whole family. Then we'll head to the snowy white mountains and the Swiss Alps. Take a look at this amazing view from above. In the New Earth, we're learning about the importance of saying no so we can pursue the projects in life that truly make us happy. And the Library of Things. What exactly is it, and how can it help the people in your community?
This is Calen here, messenger for United Network News. Here's a look at today's Field Messenger reports from all around the world. Today we visit a Team Lab exhibition in Japan. Here, art, technology, and interactive displays mix perfectly, providing a sensory experience like no other. UNN Field Messenger Susan takes us on a journey into this world of artistic innovation and immersive creativity.
Hi, my name is Susan. Our family recently traveled to Japan. Of course, we had to see the famous Shibuya Scramble Crossing. Take the Shinkansen to Kyoto and visit Osaka, where we ate some fabulous food. During our stay in the vibrant capital Tokyo, we decided to visit a creative art exhibition. Team Lab is an international art collective, a group of artists formed 20 years ago. The group consists of artists, programmers, engineers, computer graphic animators, mathematicians, and architects. They create artwork using digital technology, but also living materials like this room filled with orchids of all kinds and colors. Visitors are asked to walk barefoot, sometimes through rooms filled with lukewarm water, where images are projected. The aim of this digital artwork is to show the relationship between nature and artificial creations, immersing the viewer in an interactive world. They have many exhibitions touring the world, so traveling to Tokyo like we did might not be necessary if you like to catch one of their shows. That's me, Susan, signing off for UNN.
Beauty of the Austrian mountains in winter is a breathtaking display that captivates visitors from all around the world. UNN Field Messenger Florian takes us on a ski tour through the majestic Alps.
Hello, this is Florian, a field messenger from Austria. This winter, snow came in quite early. So today you have an amazing mountain view, some nice snow in a valley in Vorarlberg, the most western part of Austria. I take you to a tour up on the right side where the sun and the shadow are merging at the moment. And at the moment, as you see, I'm on the way with touring skis, and I will go up there and you'll see some more of this amazing mountain view. So now we are at the mountain top. This is Hohe Matona, and over there the mountain range with the snow on the top is behind the Rhine Valley. So in the valley there is the river Rhine, which divides Austria from Swiss, and the mountains over there are Swiss mountains. Then back there you see some fork in the valley. There it's quite flat, the valley. Then the next mountain top, it's called Hoher Freschen, really nice one as well. And on the right side you see, in the valley you see the Lake Constance. This lake has one part in Austria, one part in Germany and one part in Swiss. So behind the Lake Constance there is Germany. Over here you got more into the direction of Tyrol and have lots of nice mountains.
So the descent was quite nice.
I hope this view let your hearts jump as well.
And always remember and be cautious about that the feelings within you are the key for being a co-creator by yourself. Bye bye.
We want you to become a UNN field messenger. These are everyday people just like you who want to make a difference in their community. You don't need any special training or equipment. Just use the camera on your mobile phone and show us what's happening in your area. You send us your videos and our production team will create the report for you. For ideas and inspiration, we encourage you to join our new field messenger group on Telegram. Our new website is now up and running, unitednetwork.earth. You can submit your field messenger reports directly through the field messenger tab at the top of the page. You can also email your reports to our new email address at fieldmessenger@unitednetwork.earth.
Hello, I'm Susan from Sweden.
Mwanda Michael from Eastern Uganda, Africa.
Hi, I'm Tim from Vancouver, Canada.
I'm Titeshwar Thavgao from Manipur State, India. I'm Gumba Obasi from Southeast Nigeria.
Arnaito Chakrini from Western Uganda, Mbarara.
At United Network News, you are the news.
My name's Christina, Field Messenger, report first one in the hurricane down here in Southern California from Mexico.
Real people reporting real stories from all around the world. At UNN, our field messengers are changing the face of news.
This is Jason from United Network News. We're going to be doing some aircrete building with new technologies that allow us to live in comfort and also off the grid.
Take the next step in changing the way the world gets the news. Become a UNN field messenger today.
I am Michelle from South Africa, and we are the United Network News.
I am United Network News.
I am United Network News.
If it is going to be, then it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to me.
Si va a ser así, depende de mí. It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to all of us. We're UNN.
There's much to do as we start to rebuild our planet as part of the new Earth. For the first time in human history, we will have all the tools, resources, and funding to finally make this world a better place. It would be easy to get caught up in all the excitement and even overextend yourself. Lindsay Andriotti helps inspire people she calls Imaginals, who are here to help lead the restoration. Today, Lindsay shares with us the importance of knowing our limits and sometimes saying no to opportunities so we can concentrate our efforts on projects that we're truly passionate about. So Lindsay is joining us, and I love today's topic, Lindsay. We're talking about the power of saying no and the importance of it, because so many times people are approached, sure, I'll do this. You know, we're kind of, a lot of us are people pleasers, right? Mm-hmm. Or we feel like the more we do, the more accomplished we are. Like there's all of these lies, right, that have been built in our society. But you've actually, done some digging on this. And, the importance of saying no isn't just about having more free time for yourself, but it's about your body and things that happen. So tell us more about this.
Oh, it's so exciting. I love how science is catching up finally to this. And I think it goes both ways for men and women, but I think for women in particular, we are conditioned. We're early stage programmed to say yes to things we mean no to. It's very common, much more common. And there's a person, he's a doctor who's from Canada. His name is Gabor Mate, M-A-T-E, if anyone wants to look him up. His book that I recently went through, like, just and loved every second of it, was When the Body Says No. And it's the cost of the hidden stress of saying yes when you mean no. And the stress in the body creates disease. So he is seeing evidence that for people who are pleasers, who don't say no, who can't, have effective boundaries for their own limitations, they're having higher and higher incidences of cancers, mental health issues, other kinds of disease that, it hasn't even been really studied yet. So the power of being able to know your own limitations and being able to say no right now has more hidden costs than I think we've ever known before. And it's amazing what we need to be doing to say no. How are you at setting boundaries, Sunny?
I'm getting better.
Me too.
I am getting better. But, well, and a lot of it for me is a time thing, but this puts a whole different spin on it. I just think about those moments that I am able to say no, the relief and release that comes over my body the moment I say it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, that weight was lifted. Whoa. And
it's that stress. Yes, you hit the nail on the head. And I do agree that a lot of people look at it as the time sucks, right? Those are the ones that we just need to say no to. But there's also the no to emotional things. For example, I remember when I was in my early 30s and I had a young baby and I had to tell my mom and my dad I was not going to the family reunion. That no was a giant emotional, stress bomb at the time. And I had to say it. There was no way I could do it emotionally. So remember, we've talked about the 4 intersections: emotion, spirit, mental, and physical. Yes, your physical well-being is affected, but man, when you've got some of those no's that are like saying no to a person who matters to you a lot, emotionally and mentally, that can be, really painful.
Especially when it's really important to that person because you want to support them, you want to help them, right?
Yes, indeed. So, I call them fierce conversations. There's a book on that. It's really important to be able to hold your sacred self as whole and know that your no is just as valuable as their yes. Now, Stephen Covey talked about getting to win-win. I love that. And when you can, even if my no and your yes are misaligned, let's see if we can find a way that we both win in that circumstance. That's an outcome that's worthy of going after. I just noticed that the power of being able to say no gives you your energy back, gives you your spirit back, gives you everything you need to move next into where your passion and purpose lie.
So like for an example, like a win-win, would it be someone comes to you and asks you to do something or be part of something? You can't do that, but maybe there's something you can do. Is that kind of an example of?
That's a great example. Another example might be, hey, I can't be a part of this particular project that you're working on, but I might know someone who can be, who's also available or who is aligned even at a deeper level to what you're doing. May I introduce you? Or, let's get clarity about your project. Does it need to happen right now? Do you need me right now? Because I might be able to say yes to you in 3 months, 6 months, whatever. But it's knowing your timing and your boundaries is so powerful.
The digital era has profoundly impacted the lives of young people, shaping their interactions, education, and perceptions of the world. Research has shown that too much screen time on electronic devices used for gaming, videos, and virtual social connections can seriously impact health. While these devices provide both entertainment and educational value, overuse amongst children and young adults can hinder their development in areas such as social skills, mental health, problem-solving capabilities, and communication. Extended screen time may also intensify feelings of anxiety and depression. In addition to schoolwork, teens average 8 hours daily in front of a device, and for younger children, it's around 5 hours. Children with more than 2 hours of screen time per day scored lower on language and thinking tests. Researchers discovered that children using devices regularly for more than 7 hours experienced thinning of the brain's cortex, the area related to critical thinking and reasoning. Over-reliance on devices and television can make non-electronic activities like playing with toys, exploring outdoors, and interacting with peers less attractive to children. On a physical level, human eyes were not designed to stare at flickering screens. The repetitive movement of thumbs and fingers on gaming devices is also unnatural. Considering these risks, parents, educators, and caregivers are encouraged to promote a balanced approach to technology usage by setting healthy boundaries. Removing devices during family time and before bed is a good way to stimulate social interaction and reduce electromagnetic pollution that can disturb sleep. Giving eyes and fingers a pause from constant unnatural use allows them to rest and recuperate. Encouraging outdoor activities and creative play can pave the way for a more balanced, healthier, and happier life for children and families. Paid internships are a powerful tool for fast-tracking careers, providing an important stepping stone for students and a reliable talent source for companies. Statistics show college students with internship experience are almost twice as likely to receive job offers. They're also more likely to secure a higher starting salary compared to those without internships. Even if a full-time offer isn't received after an internship, the experience gained is a valuable asset. Internships provide relevant job-specific experience and serve as resume boosters. They enable students to try out industries, network with professionals, and acquire new skills. Internships present an opportunity for organizations to invest in their future talent, ensuring well-prepared employees. Strategic planning and implementation of paid internships provides an advantage for business and a beneficial transition for students from education to the workplace. Internships are more than just part-time jobs. They're intensive learning experiences that help students navigate workplace culture and responsibilities. Providing internships has the potential to result in a more competent, productive workforce, a win for all involved. The Library of Things is a concept that allows local community members to borrow items they need, from garden tools to sports gear and even home improvement equipment. The idea first emerged during the Great Depression with toy libraries and tool sharing initiatives. The library focuses on maximum reuse, repair, and recycling of items. The aim is to reduce excessive consumption and accumulation of objects we barely use. Instead of 100 drills sitting idle in 100 different homes, we could simply share a few. For example, devices like thermal imaging cameras to detect heat loss in homes are expensive to buy or rent, so being able to borrow one could be a great help in reducing utility costs. Borrowing an item comes from the benefit of having access to instructions, expert advice, and even learning new skills. The Library of Things helps people to save money and storage space. It is more than just a library. It's a testament to the power of sharing, sustainability, and community spirit. Want to share news from UNN with your friends and family? Memes are a great way to get the conversation going. Here's today's UNN meme of the day. It says, "The climb is worth it." Some people have been climbing that ladder for a very long time, and some of us have shorter ladders. Still, we are all in this together, and we're reaching the top. To see more memes just like this one, follow our Meme Team Telegram channel at UNN Memes. Share them on Telegram and any other social media channels where you still have an account. Welcome to United Network News. I'm Sunny Galt.
Connect with United Network News online. The news portion of our website at unitednetwork.earth recaps the biggest stories impacting our planet. You can also watch inspiring videos from our field messengers and get great tips for creating your own field messenger reports. Easily share all of this content with your friends in just a few clicks, including our social media memes designed to ignite conversation and critical thinking. It's time to restore our home. Let's make history together at unitednetwork.earth.
Now, a look at regional stories around the world. Public sector workers in Ireland have launched the biggest strike in recent times, impacting daily life and services. Inflation in Argentina has pushed a huge portion of the population into poverty. It's up 200% from last year. Comoros in southern Africa now has a nighttime curfew after protesters clashed with the army following the re-election of their president. Widespread power outages have left thousands of residents in the dark in Australia, and now many are questioning the country's disaster readiness. Public sector workers in Northern Ireland, representing a significant portion of the workforce, have initiated the most extensive strike in recent times, greatly affecting daily life and services. This strike is a response to the failure to receive pay raises in the wake of soaring inflation after the collapse of the power-sharing government earlier this year. The strike has disrupted services, including education, transport, and healthcare. The standoff has intensified as the Democratic Unionist Party persists in its protest over post-Brexit trade rules, while the British government pledges pay rises conditional on the resumption of power sharing. Many workers are facing financial distress, with some finding it difficult to pay their mortgages and others turning to food banks for assistance. Amid ongoing strikes and harsh winter conditions, citizens are asked to limit road travel and anticipate disruption in scheduled appointments. Thousands of farmers stage a week-long protest in Berlin against the German government's decision to phase out a tax break on agricultural diesel. The move, part of the government's efforts to balance its 2024 budget, was met with widespread backlash, prompting the government to maintain a tax rebate on new agricultural vehicles. The finance minister addressed the farmers, stating there was no budget for additional subsidies, but promised to fight for more freedom and respect for their work. The protest resulted in significant disruption and a surge in popularity for the far-right Alternative for Germany party. At a meeting with protest leaders, coalition legislators committed to revealing proposals that would lower farmers' costs and make their sector sustainable. The farmers, backed by opposition conservatives and the far right, believe the government's promises are inadequate. French police are threatening to disrupt the Paris 2024 Olympics unless their demands for improved working conditions and a €2,000 or almost $2,200 Olympic bonus are met. They anticipate that the Olympics, coinciding with the national holiday season, will place excessive strain on the city's workforce, aggravating the ongoing staffing shortages in the police, hospitals, and public transportation sectors. The authorities are expected to mobilize about 30,000 police officers and soldiers for security during the opening ceremony. If the police demands are not met, travelers could face significant delays, as passport checks could take considerably longer. This could create an uneasy environment for 500,000 people expected to attend the opening ceremony. Ukrainian men eligible for military service are reportedly being asked to present paperwork from recruitment centers to gain access to public health care. This measure, seen as a tactic to boost military recruitment, has allegedly led to increased demand for private health care, up to 30%, particularly among men. Critics argue this informal draft campaign infringes on constitutional rights. A proposed law could further intensify the situation, stipulating that draft-age men need to actively report for duty, with penalties including restricted access to social benefits and property rights for non-compliance. While the initial proposal was rejected, the Defense Ministry plans to present a revised version soon. Concerns are mounting regarding the rising levels of debt among local councils in the UK, potentially threatening essential services relied upon by the public. Many councils have made large-scale investments, some of which have failed, leading to financial crisis. Councils such as Warrington have come under scrutiny for their investment decisions, including ownerships of supermarkets and solar farms and shares in various enterprises. The councils maintain their investments are strategic, prudent, and long-term, and have returned significant income to the councils each year. However, critics argue councils should focus on the public services rather than risky investments. The government has tightened lending rules and plans to intervene when councils take excessive borrowing and investment risks. Inflation in Argentina, which exceeded 200% last year, has resulted in many citizens cutting back on expenses. The joy of hosting barbecues, typical of the country's culture, is now a luxury many cannot afford. Argentina's economic crisis, propelled by years of debt and financial mismanagement, has pushed around 40% of its population into poverty. The inflation rate, which reached 25.5% in December, is predicted to rise following the government's devaluation of the peso by more than 50%. This rapid inflation has left many locals struggling to keep track of prices. Even simple tasks like buying everyday groceries have become exercises in careful budgeting. Economic downturn and regulatory constraints are causing distress amongst China's population. Graduates are struggling to find jobs, with 25% of people ages 16 to 24 being jobless last summer. Even those able to secure employment are earning less due to businesses reducing expenses and domestic demand. The property market is also oversaturated, leading to a decrease in property values by up to 2/3 in some cities since 2021. This has affected the middle class, especially those who invested heavily in property. People are feeling less wealthy and are cutting back on their spending. Meanwhile, mounting diplomatic tensions with the West have further complicated the economic landscape, leading to China's first ever foreign investment deficit. This situation, coupled with regulatory shifts from Beijing, has left many business owners considering relocation. China's rapidly aging population is causing some serious concerns, with an estimated 300 million people set to exit the workforce in the next decade. This significant demographic shift could worsen the already strained pension system, which may run out of funding by 2035. The impact on household consumption, a crucial part of the economy, is significant. Households are already reducing spending as they prepare for a future with fewer earners and more dependents. Traditional Chinese society expects children to financially support their aging parents. However, urbanization has led to young people to move to larger cities, leaving a growing number of elderly to fend for themselves or depend on government support. This demographic crisis is expected to slow down China's economic growth and potentially lead to a humanitarian catastrophe if not addressed effectively. Violent protests have erupted in Comoros following the re-election of President Azali Assoumani. The demonstrations, characterized by clashes between protesters and the army, have resulted in 1 death and at least 25 injuries, including a 7-year-old child. Amid the unrest, the government Okay. Oh, okay. Oop. I'm actually not sure. Hang on, let me, because I can't. Yes, yes, we are. Yes. The demonstrations, characterized by clashes between protesters and the army, have resulted in 1 death and at least 25 injuries, including a 7-year-old child. Amid the unrest, the government has imposed a nighttime curfew, but resistance continues in some areas. Protesters, largely comprising of supporters and defeated candidates, accuse the government of voter fraud, a claim that the government denies. Tensions escalated as citizens experienced internet disruptions, hampering their ability to use social media. Nigerian citizens are struggling with the worst inflation since 1996, as rising food prices further strain their living conditions. The cost of everyday essentials such as bread, cereals, oil, fish, meat, fruit, and eggs has surged drastically, with the food inflation rate reaching 33.9% in December. The continuous depreciation of the naira and the increase in fuel prices are further intensifying the cost pressures. Economists warn the situation may worsen, with inflation expected to cross 30% by the end of the first quarter of 2024. Despite the bold economic reforms initiated last year, which included the controversial removal of a popular fuel subsidy, the desired economic growth remains elusive, while inflation continues to increase. Morocco is experiencing its worst drought in more than 2 decades, leading to a critical water shortage. The severe water shortage has led to a sharp decline in dam water levels, currently standing at an average of just 23.2%. Drinking water usage has been restricted in cities, and dam water usage in key farming areas has been halted. As a result, many farmers are facing potential ruin as their crops are threatened. Meanwhile, the area of land cultivated for rain-fed cereals has significantly fallen, indicating that the country will need to rely more heavily on wheat imports this year. The government is responding with plans for waterways, new dams, and renewable-powered desalination plants. Widespread power outages in Western Australia have left thousands of residents, businesses, and critical services without power, leading to significant disruptions. The outages caused by severe storms and bushfires have proven detrimental, particularly in areas like Kalgoorlie and the Wheat Belt region. Residents, particularly the elderly and those unable to leave the region, are struggling with extreme heat without air conditioning. The shutdown has also led to the closure of businesses and hospitals, with patients being evacuated and services being disrupted due to the lack of power. Mobile and internet services have also been affected, adding to the challenges faced by the residents. The outage has raised questions about the region's disaster readiness, with calls for compensation for damages incurred. Authorities are working to restore power, but the severity of the damage indicates that full restoration may take days. If you use ad blockers on YouTube, you may not be having the best viewing experience. With ad blockers enabled, users have complained about laggy performance, increased CPU usage, and even system overheating, particularly on lower-end laptops. YouTube, though, has denied causing these problems, instead pointing the finger at the ad blockers. Last year, the platform limited ad blocking users to 3 videos before forcing them to whitelist the site or pay for their premium service. In November, YouTube introduced a 5-second loading delay for users with ad blocking extensions, signaling ongoing efforts to crack down on ad avoidance. Critics suggest these issues are likely to continue as YouTube improves its ad blocker detection methods. Apple Watches equipped with blood oxygen sensors will no longer be allowed for import into the U.S. following a ruling from the Federal Appeals Court. This is due to a patent dispute with Masimo, a smart wearables manufacturer based in California. The ruling affects the Apple Watch Series 9 and Ultra 2, both of which have been pulled from Apple's website and stores. However, the ruling does not affect Apple Watch SE or watches sold before the ban. Meanwhile, Apple has been permitted to import a redesigned version of the watch without the disputed feature. Apple has denied allegations and countersued Massimo. This import ban follows February's patent infringement ruling against Apple's ECG-equipped watches brought by medical device company AliveCor. As extreme cold weather hits parts of the U.S., electric vehicles, or EV owners, particularly those of Tesla, are experiencing difficulties in charging their cars. The cold slows down the movement of lithium ions and the EV batteries, reducing charging effectiveness and depleting the battery faster. Some Tesla owners have reported their vehicles refuse to charge, while others experience slower charging speeds. Many EV users, especially newcomers, are unfamiliar with preconditioning their batteries to cope with cold weather, and Tesla has been criticized for poor communication on this feature. Preconditioning does reduce the vehicle's range slightly, but it allows the battery to warm up enough to take charge. EV owners are now being encouraged to plan ahead, especially in the cold, by notifying their car's navigation system of an approaching charging station trip, enabling the preconditioning mechanism. Want the latest updates from UNN? Be sure to follow our channel on Telegram called United Network News Channel. This is our official Telegram channel. It's where you'll find direct links to our newscasts and our in-depth field messenger reports. And we would like to tell you about CARE's newly ratified Health and Wellness Department. You can connect with the Center for Health and Wellness of Earth, or CHWE community, by joining the Telegram channel. Simply search for Center for Health Wellness of Earth and join the conversation. And now, the World Situation Report with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. The deep state, starting with Asia, began to fall on their swords overnight rather than live in the world they created. It's starting in Singapore, Japan, China, Malaysia, and it's spreading rapidly. And China's deep state generals tried to impersonate the Global Intelligence Agency, and this is the reason for NATO's announcement they are sending out 90,000 troops, Iran moving ballistic missiles, and much more. Find out exactly what was promised in today's report. Have you ever heard of the ICJ, or the International Court of Justice? They are Rothschild's private little army. Here's what they're up to now. Okay, now here's Kimberly Gogan with the Office of the Guardian. Hello, Kim. Good to see you.
Hello, Miss Sunny. Good to see you. We've got a good report for today. A lot has happened in the last 48 hours. We also have a special guest. So we have Tom again with us today because a lot of the things that happened this week were not between him and I, but that happened with both of us. And we thought we'd kind of bring him in and we could kind of recap this week. Little crazy week, huh, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Hello, everyone. Hello, UNN subscribers and everyone. Yes, definitely. I'm more than happy to come in and explain and go over the things that have been happening. It's just crazy, really crazy.
I know. Today is no exception.
Yes, indeed.
You know, thank you to our production team for making this happen today, because I can tell you it almost didn't. Mm-hmm. It was a little rough and go there. They definitely don't want us to do the news today, apparently. So
we're going to talk about a lot of things. From the beginning of the week in Davos, the information that we didn't let out the last time. I think it's important we kind of give information or give this information to everyone so they understand the background of where we're going, of where we're going, of where the operatives and the freelancers are manipulating just every single aspect of governments and elitists at the moment.
Well, let me just explain to everybody real quick. You've been in the thick of things, so yes. From their standpoint, we're now on YouTube and Rumble and a couple of other channels, and people don't really understand. So we've told you before that all governments are run by operatives. you could actually say the government is the operatives. Now, those operatives typically report to mostly deep state actors, and that's where the problems come in. Now, in places like Davos, there is no exception here. So about 3 to 4 weeks before Davos starts, the operatives start arriving. And these are your fixers, your freelancers, your operatives, and these are the ones that make all the deals. So by the time the people start getting on stage and you start seeing politicians at these meetings, what you're really looking at is the end result of about 3 to 4 weeks of work from behind the scenes. Now, separately, that group of people communicate for months prior to an event like this, and they receive orders on down the line of what's going to happen and what's going to be promoted in a meeting like this. So this year's meeting was about rebuild trust. The meeting is over now. I don't know who came up with rebuild trust, but I don't think anybody on the planet actually trusts the World Economic Forum, because in the same sentence, they actually came out with the fact that we're going to encounter a disease X situation, and there would be a lot of money that would go out to pay for all of this, and then they're talking about the same things they talked about 3 or 4 years ago. So, Tom, with that being said, I'm going to let you take over with your part, and then we'll fill in the pieces.
Sure. So yes, the 3 week previous to any big meetings worldwide are, that's my world. That's where I was into for a long time, in the things that I've done as a fixer. I'm not happy with what I've done in the past, but it happened, and now I'm able to explain to you in detail how that happens. So this year was different though, and the previous years are a little different because now, the operatives and the freelancers are all waking up to the fact that things haven't worked out the way they had planned and or set things up, the narrative in advance. So this year was very special at Davos because the fixers and the operatives and the freelancers all went there with the directive of setting everything up for disease acts and no payments, because the only reason why these elitists show up at Davos is 3 reasons: to get paid, to find out what the narrative is going to be, and for their ego stroke, to get their egos stroked so they can continue the narrative. But this year was different because a lot of the operatives were working on behalf of, I don't want to say us, but they understand that everything is changing. And so when they did their thing, 3 weeks in, 3 weeks out, 3 weeks in, and then they left, and now the operatives in. But what was happening is that a lot of the people who showed themselves at Davos they were targeted because they are now ones that want to implement Disease X. They are going along with the program, and now we have a face to the people that are willing to murder everybody on the planet, and that's a good thing now, because now we have a face and a name to individuals who are compliant and want to go along with the program and not change, and that's a big deal.
And a lot of people did not make it out of there alive.
Yes.
And there was nothing wrong with Blinken's plane.
Well, yeah. Well, he is one of those ones that in the beginning of the week that I received intel that were going to be targeted for either execution or for questioning, because there's a lot going around as trying to clean up as well on the inside. I mean, it doesn't look like it, but there's a lot of cleanup happening. And so, like Lloyd Austin, the defense secretary, and there's issues surrounding all of that, and the narratives are just failing all over the place. He was in the hospital. He wasn't in the hospital. He was in a bunker in Ukraine. He wasn't in Ukraine. I mean, there's a whole lot of they are so confused and don't really understand where they're going with their narrative at this point. but it could be because they're scared, because there's a lot of them running now. That's why Blinken chose not to get on that plane, because I believe he wouldn't have made it. He wouldn't have landed if he got on that plane. So he like others have been running to safe houses all over the world, which are not really safe at this point, because they're coming after him. And when I say they, it's
a combination of people.
Yeah, go ahead, Kim. Yeah.
So you have the coalitions, you have the legions, and joining in with them, which was interesting, are what we call the Reds. They're retired, extremely dangerous people. So that is operatives that are retired, those types of folks. People that go bump in the night, for lack of a better term. Now, they are fed up too. They're tired of going around and round and round in circles. This isn't about a one-person president or the other person president type situation for these guys. They're constantly told to do work. They get nothing in return. These people don't take too kindly to not being paid. They're getting a lot of ridiculous contracts thrown out there. They're not taking any of them. And not all of them are, this person needs to go away or something like that. It can even be, arranging arms for a war. They've been given a lot of misinformation, that type of thing. And they just got fed up. So when they saw someone taking action, they joined in.
Yep. Yes.
And that's what we're kind of seeing happen over the last couple of days. It's also the reason why Langley 5 sat in a bunker for 2 days. That's part of it. And then, of course, there was Wednesday's message that went out. And we have more on that. So I'll let you finish your story, Tom, before we get into what happened with our Chinese friends.
Okay. Yeah, so, my world is boots on the ground, and you come from a much, much higher level than we were used to seeing. Well, I was used to seeing at the time, going through government agencies and government groups and, doing what I did best at the time. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you had, I was really impressed with Agent M that you had on last week. He said all the right things. He is doing a great job over there, as far as I'm concerned, with intelligence and data that's coming out of the Middle East over there. But I wanted to talk about one point about what he said. So he said his experience was that had started with the Iraqi dinar and the promises that were being made by operatives and by the elites, the handlers, that they were going to be that the Iraqi dinar was going to be used for payments to them, to operatives, for doing the jobs and with the books and keeping all the records and all of that. And I was not okay. At the time, I was one of the main participants that structured those Iraqi dinars through the White House, through a gentleman that has all the records of it. He was the one in charge of creating that falsehood of those currency, the new Iraqi currency that was coming out. And so at the time, I had pushed it as well because I didn't know any better. But, all of those scenarios, the currencies and the promises that were given, jackass for carrots, right? That's what Rothschild said, was
carrots for what, Tom?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I said it wrong.
That's backward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tricks are for kids, Tom.
Yes. I'm sorry.
It's carrots for jackasses,
donkeys.
Is what they said.
Yes, carrots for jackasses.
Donkeys, yes. There you go.
For
Don't insult the donkeys.
Sorry. My apologies.
And that was a phone conversation that I personally had.
Yes.
With Mayor Rothschild and actually Agent M at the same time.
Yeah, so that's sort of where the currencies and the hysterical assets and all the bonds and the Pacelli notes and the all of the Fed boxes and all of that. That's where that all started from back in the day with Clinton. All those narratives were set up back then, and they're still going on with the whole narrative of that promise.
Yes, and I'm going to say on my level, on your level, yes, that's what you're seeing. Everybody's still waiting to cash this stuff in, and all of these operatives and fixers and freelancers that have them. On my level, what I saw was it was always a scam from the beginning, according to Rothschild, who created the narrative. When Marduk was alive, I also heard the same from him. He said it's never going to happen. It will never, ever happen. Now, I do know for a fact that all of the new dinar printing presses were owned by George Bush Sr. That's a fact. Mm-hmm. They printed about 7 quadrillion worth of dinar. Now, remember, money works on supply and demand. I don't really think in the next, I don't know how many centuries you want to go out, that the country of Iraq is going to be able to produce a high enough gross domestic product, or GDP, to warrant the issuance of 7 quadrillion of dinar. I'm sorry, that's not really a thing. But that's not really what it was meant for. So the way that Bush Sr., who was then the Black Dragon or Black Eagle at the time, how he would work, and I'm probably going to make a lot of operatives and people angry, but this is the truth, okay? What he would do is he would try to get everybody to work for free. That was his aim and his goal. And he had been doing that for a long time, and this even goes back as far as Prescott Bush, his father, and during World War II. He also didn't pay anybody. Now, I don't know if you know this, but one case in point here. So Hitler was Brown Eagle, so he was the second in rank in command to Mussolini at the time, who was the then Black Eagle. And Prescott Bush was also involved in the spoils of the war, and that began the creation of what you know as Black Eagle Trust. If you've been around in the circles, Black Eagle bonds, you might have heard of those, historical assets, and a bunch of other things. So one such incident was where Hitler had been running out of money for the war. There wasn't enough funding to keep going at one point in time and to keep all of the concentration camps going. He wanted more money to explore and search for artifacts, ancient artifacts, so that he could get his human experiments correct. This was all part of the beginnings of Project Paperclip. Mm-hmm. So he had offered, I think it was every Jewish person to what he thought was the Jewish people, the Khazarian Mafia or the Rothschild families, for $2 million a head. Mm. That was the offer. He went down as far, as I understand it, to 50 cents a head. And Rothschild wouldn't pay it. So wow. That's, yep. And as Agent M had said, he said that the two main enemies of the Khazarian Mafia, or the fake Jewish people, are the Orthodox Jews and the Chaldeans. From his point of view, that's what he said. The way it looks from my standpoint, it's every human walking this planet. Otherwise, why would they fight so hard not to have us free? Why would they fight so hard and put so many curses and monetary systems and diseases and all this into the world if they aren't only partially responsible for that kind of stuff, but why would they do that? Now, back to the dinar scenario and the currencies that are out there. So yes, it was Bush Sr. and his goal to getting everybody to work for free. So the currency of the black market in the underworld was rough diamonds for a long period of time, knowing full well and good that they controlled the Gemological Institute, where if you wanted to give your diamond a value, you would have to take it and have it cut, and then it would have a value to it. The same goes, and that also goes for behind the scenes hedge fund banking. It would have to have a monetary value for the bank to take it in and issue a line of credit against it. It's the same thing that they do with gold in a hallmark as they do with the diamonds and the little number that goes in the band around them. I don't know if you know this. Everybody thinks it's an identifier for insurance purposes, but it's kind of is and kind of not. So they knew that they could pay people in rocks, albeit them not really shiny at that moment in time, but shiny rocks in various grades, but they would never make it through the Gemological Institute to actually have a value to them. Therefore, making themselves the only buyer in the world. So they could control whether you actually got money for the job you did or not. That's why they started cutting a lot of diamonds in India too, and in other places in the world, because in Russia started doing it as well, because of this issue. Because there's a lot of diamonds in Russia. There's a lot of diamonds not only throughout the African continent, but all over the world, really. It's not as rare as everybody says that it is. What's rare is getting it through the Gemological Institute and having it come out the other side still a diamond. Now that's the rare part. I also know other people who were paid, and I know these people firsthand, that were paid in other various gemstones that they had taken during the fall of the Shah, also in, let's just say, a specific area in India where they were running an operation at the time. So they have all kinds of rare artifacts and stones and huge rubies the size of your fist. And no matter what they do, they can never use them for anything. They can't leverage them at a bank, and they've been trying for at least 15 years that I'm aware of. They cannot. Tom, you met one of those people.
Yes, yeah, and I could tell you right now that there are operatives, and a lot of them, that have ledgers that have never been fulfilled, that have never been paid out. And I think that's one of the big issues surrounding why operatives won't comply with the newbies, because we're considered new, right? Because we're not part of the old structure. So they won't comply with us because they want their ledgers paid out, before they come forward, which is sad, because I mean, they deserve it because they did a job, they deserve to get paid, but they're refusing to come forward before getting their ledgers paid
as long
out.
as someone pays those ledgers.
Yes,
that's what they're asking for.
Yes.
Now, these are not the orchestrators of these events that we're seeing. They play various parts. Maybe they went to a country and did something, or came, did something else somewhere else. It could be economic. It could be, various things at various times. It's not all on the grand scale like a Davos. Okay. So I want to make that point very clear. Some of them are just political guys. They get the narrative and the script. The script gets handed down to them. They make sure that their guy stands at the podium and, says the speech or whatever it is he's supposed to say, follows along with the script and the narrative. Clearly that's breaking down in a major way. But back to doing things for free. So then in the 70s and 80s, Bush also printed $27 trillion in what we call super notes. And they are in various countries all over the world. The presses were everywhere from Iran over to the Philippines, to China. There are some in Latin America that I've run into as well.
Vietnam.
Oh, Vietnam. That's another place. That's true. And so then they started sending over the actual paper, the correct paper and the correct ink, which is an MICR ink. And they started printing up sheets and sheets and sheets and sheets of these notes. So for a while there, it was fake U.S. dollars that look real, because the system has a counter to it.
Let's correct that. So the paper that was printed on, and it looks right, it feels right, it smells right, it has the right ink, it has everything correct. except the fact that the allocation numbers are duplicated, so that you can't use them, right? And so that's a hard lesson I found out, because based on, within my story, I was tasked to find all of those assets, all that money, all of the historical assets, everything around the world, with a group of people, who we ran around, including some generals. Mm-hmm. One of the generals, was charged with taking all of the money that was printed from Deutsche Bank and pushing it around into Iraq and Iran and paying all these operatives and paying all these people for, the wars in Iraq and the wars in Iran, and paying for all of this. But it was all funny money. They could never use it. And and so at some point, the general and myself got frustrated because we tried to tell everybody it wasn't going to be utilized, but I knew from a very early point that those allocation numbers were never going to be utilized in the same way, because they were being removed, right? They were being removed from the system, so they could not be utilized. But how do you hurt the deep state? How do you hurt the deep state most? By removing the cash monies in the system so that they can't harm anyone else. And that's been the main cause for the downfall of the deep state, is because removing those allocation numbers and limiting the kind of money that's in the system that they could do harm was key to removing the deep state.
And not allowing the pallets of cash to be used. Okay, so people we know that have pallets of cash. I know that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard has been trying to cash those notes since 1979. I know that it's been a minute. Saudi Arabia since Desert Storm. The Iraqis as well. The Russians from during the Cold War. And the list goes on and on and on. Nobody has successfully ever done it. And it has been decades. Now, this is just scam number 2. So when people started realizing, okay, look, you gave me, we had Desert Storm, we killed a lot of people, that's what you wanted, right? Bush Sr. But we still can't cash this money. So now what are we going to do? I don't really want any more of those pallets of cash to do this job for you. The next one, whether it's bomb Yemen or, it's the Lebanese president that received a suitcase full of cash. It's not actually a suitcase, but he received about 100 million of those dollars in cash to allow for, remember the situation in Beirut quite a few years ago? That cost about $100 million. That's still never been paid out. So this has been going on for a long time. Remember, the Order of the Black Sun's job is quote unquote global security. Not really, not to our favor. Security for the elites. And the financial sector and a number of other sectors were handled by the Order of the Dragon, which is no longer the case either. So then, after the pallets of cash started to fail, they moved into these Iraqi dinar. And they started paying everyone from ISIS to the Taliban to Blackwater to all the operatives to, countries in these new dinar that are going to revaluate, and that kind of started going by the wayside a few years ago, which is why they introduced, now the currency of the underworld was the U.S. Treasury coin. So digital currency. And they started giving that to everybody. And everybody worked and worked and worked, for these wallets that just never came to fruition.
And they won't. No. because the whole programming around that was, okay, if we can't use the US dollar, we can't use the historical notes anymore, then we got to create a digital system. And there you go. For now in 2014, 2015, the brainiac idea was to use a digital platform in order to not only get operatives to do what they wanted to continue with the narrative, but to also have back doors and in those crypto wallets so that they can steal every bit of the last of money that's in the system for their purposes. So So it was, it was ingenious, I got to say, but, everybody fell for it. And so now you see crypto is not really going anywhere. You got failures going on. You got people being
Don't
being
forget
arrested.
Trump bucks.
And Trump bucks. And
Zelensky even has Trump bucks.
Oh,
we
yeah.
need to cash them in.
Well, so does Musk, right? Doesn't Musk have his whole coinage system set up as well?
Doggy coin. Doggy coin.
Yeah.
Is it called Doggy coin?
It
Or
is
X?
just.
It was
it
X
is
in the
just
beginning.
It is another way of getting money out of the system. The money that does exist in the system now, the allocations that are there, it's all about getting that out into their hands. So it's just another narrative in which to rob the people of their hard-earned money.
Yeah.
So just be very careful, because at some point, those digital things that work on Bitcoin, which is, Bitcoin and blockchain and all of that is Swiss cheese. You can walk in and out of anything right now. The NSA and all the cyber guys can walk in and out of any platform and just crash it at some point and run away with the money. And that is definitely going to happen at some point down the line.
And I've even offered to help. Not on the grand scale, the people that have 7 quad or whatever, of dinar, but it wasn't right. That's not right. People went out and either, spent their hard-earned money and bought this stuff on the internet or whatever. And they've been stringing them along for about 15, 16 years. And it's always someday ending in Y. It's going to be cashable. They do the same thing to the fixers, freelancers, and operatives too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's warehouses all over the world of just assets sitting, rotting, and waiting for the payout. And it's a shame. It is definitely something you and I discussed that would have to be fixed in a way just to get rid of it. It's, to settle it. Because quite honestly, it's a burden on me too, because I know you got to be careful with that. I know.
No. Hold on a second. The reason I just wanted to stop you for a second there, because the problem that I have with this is that they've been promised 7 times the value, 100 times the value. You can then put that money into a high yield trade program, and that doesn't exist anymore. And you can get $1 bajillion or some number from NASA, decatillion or something, and you're going to be a decatillionaire. How's that? And that's a new number for you. And and I come in and I say, look, I understand that was really crappy, what happened to you, and I'd like to help you, and here's this. And they look at me and laugh, because the dangling carrot in the horse race here is so big that it is an unrealistic expectation.
Agreed.
And there will be people that will die broke waiting for somebody to pay out on that carrot. And I'm telling you right now, we know what happened behind the scenes there.
Yes.
And it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen that way. It's never going to be the case.
No.
It's not possible. There's not enough assets in Iraq to make it happen. There's not enough assets in all of the Middle East to make that happen. I'm sorry, but it was a scam. And then they started scamming people out of money. The same group of people, I know people are going to have a heart attack when I say Bush and Trump are in the same group of people with the Clintons. There's videos all over the place of him supporting the Clintons and being at, events and galas and whatnot with the Clintons. But Tom, am I wrong here?
No, you're absolutely right. Coming from that world, I could tell you, they, just like all the major corporations in this world, all the elitist families are interlinked, bred into, utilized because now they have something on everybody. It's all interlinked. Trump's family lineage and the Bush's family lineage and Rothschild and all of them are interlinked in some way. And it's sad because, we were never told any of this. And so in essence, we have to change everything. We have to just scrap it all and start again, because there is nobody out there that you can trust. Nobody, because they just want to continue with the narrative.
Right. And the only difference here, in my opinion, between Trump and Bush is that Bush was a little better of a liar to get people to work, because Trump was so arrogant. He put his face on a currency and talked about Federal Reserve Bank cards and Trump this and Trump that, and then, had said that they were going to be cashable in the future, a day ending in Y in the future. Just keep going, operatives. Just keep going. Just keep going. Average everyday folk that bought into it and bought those cards and bought those bucks. It's the same thing as the dinar. That's the exact same thing. The only difference is that, how do I say this? Bush, as one of the founders of the CIA, knows how to tell a good lie, and he trained everybody else how to do it. So 1% truth and 99% beep, baloney. So there was a country named Iraq in Bush's case. There is a country named Iraq. They have a currency, it's called the dinar. Right now, and historically speaking, a revaluation of currency has happened in multiple countries, Kuwait being one of them, Brazil, Argentina. This is over a long period of time, and these are just a few, just to name a few of countries that have revaluated their currencies.
Zimbabwe.
Yeah, Zimbabwe has not revaluated their currency.
No, you're right. They issued a new currency to get rid of the old one.
No, what they did is well, let me tell you about that in a second. So Bush had that 1% there that you really need to get everybody to buy in. Trump, there's no Trump country. Sorry, there isn't. There's no current Trump currency that's worth something in the market. It's like buying those bazillion-dollar bills in the gift shops, the joke shops, or something, because that's basically what it looks like. But they felt that he had built enough of a name, at least his ego told him at the time that they were doing this, that he had built enough of a name for himself to actually say, look, this man is so great, he's going to have his own currency. Now, see, this is what happens when you have a group of operatives that have drank too much Kool-Aid and are not okay anymore. They think very highly of themselves, and their ego is enormous, and they feel like they could have pulled this off. It would have been the greatest thing in history. I'm gonna be DARPA coin number 107, and oh my God, I'm gonna get myself 2 DARPA coins, or whatever it is that they're big chips. You can do a lot with a DARPA coin. It's not just for show in your closet.
Mm-hmm.
So the point being here is what it was designed for was to get something for nothing. So the same 2 programs are the exact same thing. The only difference is one had 1% truth and the other one had next to 0. That's it. And that was the mistake. That's why it really didn't go anywhere, and they had to go with the USTC, or the digital currency, US digital currency out there, and sell that for a while. The Federal Reserve makes announcements on TV that there's going to be a digital currency. So it kind of like, they put that 1% spin in there, for that one, that they forgot about with the Trump bucks. But
yeah, well, that's why I'm hoping that, if the elections happen and that person gets into the White House, that people don't get duped thinking that he will be able to create a monetary value on those things, because it just won't happen.
No, it's another case of promises not delivered on. But
yes,
let's get into the current news.
Well, I wanted to feed off of that. So we were talking about, the assets being credit, right? Most of them, they went from cash to credit based assets. So something happened for me which gave me really warm, tingly feelings on Wednesday night. I spoke with a gentleman who worked for the Fed. He worked for a gentleman we mentioned before, Bauer. For the Bauer family, and but he works in the halls of the Fed buildings and with the Fed president and with all of those individuals. And he told me, so there was big changes that Kim announced about how we had a flip between credit versus assets, and the gold, the veins of gold being utilized as an asset with humans rather than humans being a credit. So that
asset.
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Well, the humans being a credit that was utilized as an asset with the Fed.
Collateral.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, thank you. So he actually said to me that because we had that flip, the Fed was completely defunct. And let me explain that. So up till now, the Fed had the ability to come to us and sign an agreement or a contract agreement to continue to process U.S. dollars, to create more money for allocations and the whole bit, to continue to survive. Because of arrogance, because of their need to be controlling of and their handlers and the people that they were listening to, they chose not to do that contract in 2012, correct? Was it 2012? So up till now, we've given ultimatums and tried to speak with, Fed presidents and give them an idea of what's happening, what's coming down the line. Nobody would listen to us. But now that their credit facility, that is their base foundation of their system, of what they know, with Omega being gone, and that foundation now switching over to an asset-based foundation with gold and tied to each individual human as a power source for that money. Their systems are completely defunct. They cannot do anything anymore. They will lie. They will throw up mirrors still, and they will try to convince you of it. But they are completely done. And this came from a guy who he is my insider at the Fed, who related these things to me, that they are completely off right now. They're defunct. They can't do anything. Which is nice to hear, because it's going to take time for that information to come out, but it will come out in proof. Proof is all about actionable intelligence, and them being able to actually do anything to save governments and people like most people used to.
Well, and in that line, something that has happened within this last week as well is the jurisdictional system. Now, for those of you that have been around the world and done banking in more than one country, or have been in the banking industry, you will know that there are 12 jurisdictions in the world. So there is one more jurisdiction called the 13th jurisdiction, which is where the Alpha system would have come in, or Omega's lenders of choice, or the bankers in the past. Okay, so it would come from Alpha, it would go into Omega, and then they were the front lines right there in density 8, one part below the 9, and they would receive the money for disbursement based on orders that they were given, or they knew that the money would go away. And that has nothing to do with my system. This is before me, my time. So the reason why there's 12 Federal Reserve boards in the United States has nothing to do with, well, if you're in California, you probably are under the Federal Reserve in San Francisco. If you are in New England, it's probably the Boston Fed. It has nothing to do with that, even though in part it does. But each one of those boards governed an entire banking jurisdiction over the entire world. So, in Canada and the U.S. might be one, as an example, Mexico. And then you might have a couple of Latin American countries and a couple other ones on the other side. And then Africa might be split. So you can look up banking jurisdictions in the world and it will come up. And it oftentimes relates to issuing credit cards, Visa cards, cross-jurisdictional payments, and those types of things. Well, that jurisdictional control actually went away this week as well, along with, as the system further integrated into an asset-backed trading system backed by gold and not people anymore as assets, On the flip side of it, the jurisdictional system started dissipating. So that is a positive thing for banking worldwide and a positive thing for countries. You really have next to no central banking systems anymore. And as of this morning, you have next to no treasury systems anymore. So this is the next layer falling apart. But we have another little story to tell about this week, don't we, Tom?
Yes. Are we talking about the GIA?
We're talking going to talk about the GIA for a minute. We do.
Okay.
Okay, so we all know I put out an announcement on the news, and when I talk, I know that there are a lot of agencies and operatives and militaries and whatnot that listen. It's just a fact. Would you say that's a fact, Tom?
Absolutely.
Matter of fact, this weekend, you and I were having last weekend, we were having a conversation together, and I can't remember what it was about, but it was probably something, we never really talk about, how's your day going? Did you go to the grocery store today kind of things. It's more, operational about 90% of the time. And we are friends, I'm friends with Tom's wife and that kind of thing. But we were having a conversation last weekend, and right in the middle of the conversation, I hear doo doo doo, and I'm not touching my phone, nothing. It didn't disconnect. The number you are dialing cannot accept calls at this time. Like doo doo doo, and it just kept repeating itself. And so I hung up, tried calling Tom, and finally we reached each other. And I was like, "Did you hear that? You heard that too, didn't you? The same message?"
Yes.
We were like, "Whoops."
Yeah, we were talking every now and then. We talk, and they don't like to hear what we say, because your operational notes and my operational notes, they sync all the time. I validate everything, even with the. So I didn't tell you, but I did get news just before we got on the air about all the ships that had disappeared from the cybersecurity guys the SETCOM guys that were monitoring all that, and they were not only shocked but didn't understand what had happened, so I had to explain it to them, and so that's a lot. So we mesh like that. We corroborate each other's information, and a lot of these individuals, deep state folks that listen to us don't like it because we spit the truth. I was saying that the truth is a hard pill to swallow, and it's people it will mess with people's brains because you can't give too much truth because they will just go into a tailspin of rants, as you notice on the Telegram chats all the time. So you got to be careful, delicate of what you put out there, not because it's not the truth, but because sometimes people just won't understand it, and that's not just for the individual layperson. It's for operatives and people who are listening to our conversation all over the place, that if they don't like to hear what we're saying, they'll cut us off so nobody hears it, meaning the operatives as well. The operatives who are listening, they won't. So because everything's been so compartmentalized over the years, they cut us off because if everybody's listening to our conversation and we're telling the truth, they'll cut us off just because they don't want anybody to find out the truth of what we're saying. So yes. So let's get back to GIA. So we were talking. Go ahead.
All right. Finish. So I'm working away yesterday, and it's really kind of quiet out there because I'm always looking for upticks in chatter. Our names being mentioned, certain people's names being mentioned. It's a safety thing, and a number of different things while I'm working. So I'm working away, and all of a sudden, around 3:00 Eastern Standard Time ish, I have everyone from like Iran, Iraq, Pakistan, the United States, Pentagon, and the Treasury Department, and the Treasury in China, and all these people entering these access codes. Some are trying to enter them into the key intelligence and military system. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to laugh here. And some of them are trying to enter them into the Treasury system, and they're looking for money. And I'm like, of course it's rejecting. I'm like, what are all these codes? What the heck is going on here? That kind of thing. And Tom had sent me a message, and I said, is it all quiet with you? I'm like, why are all these people doing this? And I just had to ask him, and he goes, yeah, my phones went quiet at around 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time yesterday. I'm like, huh,
Yeah.
And I'm like, where are all these codes coming from? I didn't give out any codes. I don't have any agreements with anybody. What the heck is this?
Okay. Then I get a call, and may I continue? So then I get a call right after that from, let's say, a colonel. So I talked to a colonel who works in the financial division of the Pentagon. He worked under the use of the AVILP4 system and Net 6 for funding of initiatives through the Pentagon and the DoD. So he calls me and says, Tom, he says, in recently has GIA or has Kim issued any codes and authorized payment to the DoD and the Pentagon? And I said, no, not at all. Why? He says, well, I was asked to validate some codes that were given by somebody. He goes, I don't know who, and we took a little research to find out who was given the codes, because it comes from up the tier line of people, their tier line, their handlers. And so it comes down the line, and it finally gets to the person who's in control of those, those computer systems, those financial platform systems in the Pentagon. And I said, no, not at all. I said, why? He goes, well, somebody's promising money to everybody because now they have access, because they know now that GIA is funded, and they're claiming that they have access to GIA funds, and that just to hold on, and they'll get access to them, and we're giving codes out. So everybody went silent all of a sudden, because, oh my God, GIA now made an agreement, a promise, a contract with so-and-so, who we didn't know who it was at the time, that now money's coming. So we'll just hold on, wait again. So lies. They continue lies so much. It's trying to find the truth from any of the lies. And so if you want to continue, Kim, go ahead.
So then I traced it back to the origin. And it's a Chinese general that has so many code names, I don't know what his real name is. So we'll call him Wen Hung Lo. General Wen Hung Lo, there's a better name you want to have? Holy? No. General Wen Hung Lo took the messages that I had sent out via diplomatic line to the Pentagon, all the militaries worldwide, NATO agencies, everybody that had received a message. He took those messages and claimed he had struck a deal with me, and he was now with the GIA. This is what he told the next tier down from him, and that the money would be released yesterday by 3 o'clock, no later than 3 o'clock. And he began generating access codes from probably strange places. I don't know, made them up, maybe threw darts at a dartboard. I'm not exactly sure, but none of those things were real. So, and then when Tom and I finally got together last night talking on the phone, and I'm like, oh, you're kidding me. And they all fell for it.
So much that the NATO allies, the NATO allied forces, decided that they now were going to, because their money's coming, they were going to initiate the whole 90,000 troops in the, to fight Putin and the whole bit. And so they started implementing troops all over the place just because of this one issue, the lie. And so now it's permeating everywhere. And now I'm getting a headache because I'm getting so many phone calls saying, what is going on? Really? Did you do that? Yay. Well, thank God we're moving on. And I said, no. We would never at all ever agree to the terms and conditions of war at all. We're done with that.
They also had Iran moving a bunch of ballistic missiles. Pakistan was bombing Iran was bombing, which hasn't happened since like 1980 or something crazy. They had big plans. They had deployed more chemtrails, so we had a couple of chemtrail-free days, and then it just got really bad again, at least around here. I can't speak for everybody. We found that stash in Puerto Rico this morning. But all of these things start happening, and I'm like, we were doing so well here. You know, so we had to track down one hung low. One hung low is no longer with us. And whatever they were expecting to be agreed upon, or he didn't have a conversation with me, I can tell you that right now, at all, not even a little bit. And it's so confusing to me because I know that I must have said in the last 48 hours, based on these ships off the coast and all of these things, and I must have said that Chinese deep state is the worst of everyone in the world. I must have said that statement at least 10, 15 times on an open telephone line in the last several days. Well, why would you be under the impression I made a deal with this guy? Did the NSA all of a sudden fall off the face of the earth? I know they didn't, because they're on my phone and they keep messing up this broadcast right now. You know, I also know about the, you know, with the Pentagon. I know that the DNI listens, Defense National Intelligence, GCHQ, you know, that everybody's on Tom's phone. You don't even have to single them out. They just, the minute he picks up a phone, it goes everywhere.
Is the intelligence network so broken, the people inside, that they don't validate who's actually giving the orders and look it up and find out who actually gave the orders and validate anything coming from anybody at this moment in time, because lies are permeating everywhere.
They don't. You know, in my opinion, from what I could tell, this guy had a book full of code names that are known names as code names throughout the militaries and NATO and the orders and certain places. And he would use certain names based on whatever country he was calling. And some of them were like Bush's old names, you know, that kind of thing. So the Devil's Wife is one of them. And I recognize some of them from chatter before. Black Mullah is another. That's just a name, a title, a code name. There could be 50 people, half of them men, half of them women, that could be the Black Mullah. That's a Middle Eastern thing. That's how they got all that going in the Muslim world. But I just don't understand why no one bothered to, call the local people here in Durango. They monitor everything I say and do. They're here in this town. They would know if I cut a deal with some Chinese man that happened to rock up in Durango, because there's so many of them around here, you know. I mean, you know, Chinese generals are a dime a dozen around here. They get lost in they maybe wouldn't notice. Never, you know, no. So why didn't anybody bother to call? Why didn't anybody bother to listen to my phone conversations? Why didn't anybody? You know what? They purposely told them they did it on some, I don't know, psychic hotline or something. I have no idea. You know, I don't know how they said they did it, but there was no deal. There was no diplomatic conversation registered in the archives. There is nothing.
The problem with Chinese deep state too, though, is that they go very deep. Right, you were saying they go very deep, and so there's family upon family upon family upon family that will just take orders, and it's sad that most of them are going to have to.
Well, let's talk about how sad they are today.
Yeah,
they have behind the scenes, and I do expect, and I'm that you'll end up start seeing this in the media like you have this week. The markets in China were in a free fall a couple of days ago, and then they shut it off. Don't let anybody know what's happening inside our country. Censorship, 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 guys, you know. But behind the scenes, it's broken. The 100-year plan is broken. The 1,000-year plan is broken. The thousands of year plan is broken, and nothing has worked. And as of this morning, there was a very large suicide rate amongst deep state members of China. And when I say large, I probably have seen between China, Singapore, Philippines, Japan, Malaysia, several, probably at least 100 to 200 people that have already, at the time that we broadcasted this, I don't know where we're going to be in a couple of hours from now, but they basically committed suicide because in their world, that is a better fate than living with the shame. You know, it's called losing face there. Now, for me, I would have preferred that they had to live through all of this. But then again, they don't seem to change their mind in any way, shape, or form. So maybe it's the world is going to be a better place. But we don't know that. Mm-hmm. And your contact, the last phone conversation took place how long ago with your contact in China, Tom?
This morning.
Okay.
Yeah,
what morning. Time?
That was 8:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, that was also right about the time that these mass suicides started. So we don't know if this is actually the case. But tell everybody about the conversation you overheard.
Okay, so sometimes I get on the phone, and obviously there's a lot more people on the phone than just the person I'm talking to. So he informed me that there were other people on the phone, and it was people that are involved in the deep state. So in China. So what they were saying to me was that the execution of the 100-year plan based in China's eyes, the execution of it, the whole buildup of this whole 100-year plan where China is going to take over and the U.S. is going to allow it, and all the military is going to allow it, all the world is going to allow this changeover to China. And so he said to me, he said the plan and the execution as far as China was concerned was flawless, meaning that they executed their part of this whole takeover, because now they infiltrated the U.S. through the borders, right? They infiltrated the
military.
Through the military as well. They started buying up all the real estate in the United States and all of it, right? In order to turn over the power to China. However, as he was talking, he said to me, even though the execution of it was flawless, the outcome was a complete disaster. He said nothing happened the way it was supposed to happen. And then I had to explain to him, because they were never in control and they could never have fulfilled this 100-year plan without the person that sat in Kim's chair. So he admitted that, yes, that was true, because everything that would have happened after the successful execution of their plan was all based on the person that sat in Kim's chair pushing the buttons to shift everything over. Okay. Now that it did not happen, and that the execution was a complete disaster as far as making it a reality, it's because Kim is not going to allow it, because they never understood that every time they did something, the last piece of the puzzle was always the person sitting in Kim's chair. So and I explained this to him, and then the deep state members were online while I was saying this, and it was a shock to all of them, because obviously everybody got lied to. And I think that's exactly why the executions, or the not the executions, I'm sorry, the fall on the sword type of relationships, and I'm sorry.
We're not relationships. Falling on the sword began to happen.
Correct.
Morning.
And so, I'm sorry, I just got another phone call there. So the Pentagon is actually having a meeting right now, and they want me to be on a call, and they keep buzzing my phone. And
well, they can wait.
No.
We got a little bit more to talk about. And actually, Fun Day Friday, we're going to talk about the Pentagon here in just a minute, because this is hilarious to me. So before we get that far, just for the record, and I have explained it out on a whiteboard, and I told you that 21% alpha, 79% omega. No human, including the covens, coven masters, and even the parents, even the Abraxas, ever had the whole story or full control over any plan that they handed down to the humans. Now, that includes this, transfer of power. At the time, there were other people here. So you had, when the transition of power took place from Britain to the U.S. Back in the day, several decades ago, that transition was completed because the person who actually had partial accessibility before I obviously was born and before I started this job officially when I was 40. So that person had partial access to alpha and partial access to omega, and it wasn't a human. It was somebody else. So that transition went well. The transition that is trying to take place now, sure, the humans probably did their part in having, can't say that, having that situation a couple of years ago, and the whole thing, and so they did all those things. They tried to take over all the minerals in Africa. They were ordered to infiltrate completely the United States government, which they had done. Actually, that had started 100 years ago with the Fed and a lot of other things here in the U.S. But so they did ring all their bells. But the problem is they didn't have all the bells. So it was never going to work anyway. There's nobody here supporting them. And I think whatever they were expecting to happen on the evening of the 17th or 18th had something to do with the bell ringer. They thought that they had ticked all their boxes on their list of these are the bad things we're going to do to humanity in order to transfer power from the U.S. to China. They went down the whole list. They got to the end of the list. They thought we completed the list. Then something somewhere is going to finish the rest. So I'm just sitting here with my bell going, what is that? I don't even understand what they're doing. I'm like, why are you doing all of this? I mean, I've seen the 100-year plan, but I mean, that nothing has gone right, really, like fully to the fullest extent with that for years. And the country officially, the deep state of China has officially broken that country in every way you can break a country. So there's a little karma for you, China, because they tried really hard to break the United States so they could do a transfer of power. They even had help from our military. They had help from the military. They were like, oh, yay, the disease ships are offshore again. Woo, chemtrails are at an all-time high. I'll take that. I'll fly that plane for you. Agencies are doing the same thing. All on promises because they saw the GIA money. I have hidden that account. It is not there anymore, and I am not going to show it anymore because this will just fire you people up, and then before you know it, we'll have some other person trying to claim they work here. Everybody that works for the Global Intelligence Agency, just for the record, and then I'll get into the fun Friday part. Everybody who works for the Global Intelligence Agency is registered in the intelligence system in every country in the world. That's military and intelligence. Now, my name is in there. Tom's name is in there. There's a few other people whose names are in there. And there are some people that are written only as Agent X. Now, if you happen to approach one of those people, the Agent X people, and you run their file, you will see their name. Their name, they'll come up that they have a clearance level of X and they're with the Global Intelligence Agency. And that's for their own private safety. And I can guarantee you, because I'm the only one entering those names in there, I can guarantee you that there's currently no Chinese people working for the GIA. I can also tell you, if you have held the rank of general somewhere on this planet, seen and unseen, your name is not in there. I guarantee you that. Okay? Let me just help you out here. No descendant of Bush, Hitler, or anyone else is in there. That's it. That's the truth. Not a Scherf, not a Van Kempf, not a Trump, not anybody. None of these people are in there. None of the operatives that work for them are in there. None of them. Now,
it's all under new management.
It is all under new management, and there are new people in there. There are some people here locally. I'll just leave it at that. But the point of the matter is, that being said, you know, I understand the code name system and how it works, and I could also call you and tell you that I'm Mary Poppins or the Devil's Wife or whatever name they use to get you to do something, because I have all those names too. You know, Alice, you know, all the other names that you people use, and it could be a man. Alice could be a man or a woman. It doesn't matter who it is, but as long as you give the right code name and a few numbers that follow it, and I know those numbers, it's either AIA or AAIA or whatever it is, and then it takes you directly to whoever it is you're trying to call, and then they do it. You know, maybe I'll have fun with that. Hey guys, you know, I need all of you to strip down and run through the water in front of the Washington Monument. How's that?
They'll probably do it too.
And they'll probably do it too, because I use the right name with the right number behind it.
Yep.
It's so ridiculous. I have, you know, anyway, whatever. So NATO now knows that it didn't work. There's no money coming. You know, now we're saying it publicly with my face and Tom on here. So that's never happening. To further make me question the senility of the United States military, I have to say this, okay? Now, the Rothschild family had a group of people they created, and the name of the group is the International Court of Justice, or ICJ for short. Now, these people are normal people, but they tell everybody they're a Nephilim. You are a Nephilim. You are a fallen angel. You are the chosen one. That's what they do to everybody. You're the chosen one. We're going to do this ceremony. And what they used them for in the past was monetary cannon fodder. So they would give them an access code. This is how it worked. I mean, it's been since 2007 since this game has been worked correctly. So they used to give them an access code. They would go into a bank. They would move money from one account to another account or whatever it is, or they think they're fighting the bad guys and they're really not. They're just whoever goes against the family loses. That's who they are. They're not real operatives in any way. They're just people that believe that they are Nephilim.
With a fancy business card.
Yeah, with a fancy business card. So now anybody can get this business card in their little badge. You can go down to Toys R Us. No, I'm just kidding, you know. But close. It's close. It looks that cheesy. It's very cheesy. And if you ran into one of these people and they like you and you adhere to the family values and you accept the fact, you tell them, yes, I do believe that you're a Nephilim, then boom, you can have your badge too. Now, I tell you this because they are on actually like LinkedIn. You can find them on there. They're just power brokers. They're just brokers. That's all they are. And they're being used as cannon fodder for bad things. So they'll move money like from, you know, Pakistan to Iran, and then Iran will bomb Pakistan or something, you know, and then, oh, that guy paid for it. That guy, not me, you know, not the families. That's what they mean by protection. So they'll stop them from getting in trouble. So yesterday, some people with the ICJ showed up at the Pentagon, said that they were there on behalf of Rothschild, and wanted to have a chat. What do? Now, no one bothered to see what an ICJ was. No one bothered to look anything up. No one bothered to see if this person is a serial killer or whoever they are, or a terrorist coming from, you know, the Middle East or something like that, or wherever. An enemy of state. Doesn't matter. You said that you work for Rothschild. We just automatically believe you because we're Defense National Intelligence, and that's what we do. We just believe everybody. We love everybody here. Come on in, have some coffee, sit down, we'll have a chat. Really?
Grasping at straws to find something real in a world of lies. And that's what they fell for.
You know what? This is as real as it gets right here, people. I tell you the truth every single time, and yet it doesn't matter because I'm not part of your bloodline insanity and Agenda 2030 or any of those crazy things you're trying to do. I'm just simply here now in this chair. My predecessor is dead. He was not on our side. I am from the opposite bloodline of that being that was here before, and therefore I don't have to play with any of your rules. All your contracts are expired. There's nobody coming to help you. You know, you're the one flailing about to burn the U.S. government. Now, right before we got on here, Tom got one more phone call saying that they were going to send the budget for ratification today. You've probably seen that in mainstream news, that they passed the second time the budget again because they were supposed to have money today, but they didn't get any money today. So they want to pass another budget, I guess, a couple days ago. Yeah, it's the same budget.
Yeah, they keep passing budgets that don't get ratified. And so they had hope that because the lies had permeated through the GIA and the gentleman they trusted would give them money.
Wang
blah, blah, blah.
General Wang Hung Lo.
Sorry, General Wang Hung Lo.
Yeah.
I got a call. So the gentleman, well, there's separate individuals that go back and forth, but they're the ones who kind of sort of take the information from Congress and set it in the budget committees and the whole bit, and they transfer that, by hand to the president or to the White House for approval, and they're the ones that kind of walk in between back and forth, something like I used to do. Okay, and so he calls me and says, well, listen, there's another budget, and is it going to be ratified? And I'm told it's going to be because there's money coming in, and, there's rumors about GIA, and I'm just calling you to give you a heads up. And I'm like, no, what? No, what? Again? No, it's not going to be ratified. What are you kidding me? So nobody's ever talked to Kim. Nobody has sat down from the government agency officially to sit down, recognize who she is, come up with a contract, an agreement, and then sign it for, peace, love, and restoration. I said, nobody wants to do that. So you know what? Not going to happen. It's not going to be ratified. They can keep going, signing bills, hooray, yay, extension, but nothing is going to happen. And no money is going to come out from anywhere because it's not going to get ratified, nor do we agree with it. If you don't sit down and talk to us like big boys and girls and discuss it and work it out, then nothing is going to happen. And that is arrogance.
Well, arrogance. Let me help you out here.
Go ahead.
Just because someone calls you and says they're the code name Dark Prince doesn't mean they really are, guys. You should probably check that out. That's number one. And number two, such a position doesn't actually even exist anymore in this planet because the whole organization is defunct. The entire order is defunct. So you can call yourself the Dark Prince or whatever you want to call yourself, and it doesn't matter. And the next time someone named General Wang Hung Lo calls you, maybe you should verify if he actually has any access to any GIA anything. Call me, call Tom.
Well, let's
Sonny. You can call Sonny too. She'll tell you.
Yeah, let's get into that real quick as well. Sorry, not to interrupt you, but it just on that point alone, there is no more in between. There's no more levels from government and above. That's all gone. So therefore, budgets can be signed very easily at this point just by having a conversation with Kim and discussing it. There is no more red tape as how they know it. There is no more getting approvals from someone higher up, and going through multiple layers of paperwork and approvals to get anything. It is a streamlined process that is now created so that we can help. But do you want to help? Do you really want to be able to start a restoration and make trillions of dollars and do it the right way by protecting people, governments, military, politicians, your oath? Do you really want to go at it by the hard way or the easy way?
What happened to God and country? What happened to people? What happened to the humans? The 300 and something million in the U.S. and then the 8 billion worldwide you swore to protect? Remember those people? Well, that's why they don't want to talk to me. They'd like to continue on with their other programs. This is just as lucrative over here as it was on the other side. But they just, and I'm not sure we want to work with them after I saw this in the last couple of days. Are you kidding me right now? There will need to be some training. We're going to need to work on our people skills and stuff like that, because that's not going to work. And they did, by the way, during the time that we were recording, they actually tried to submit that, and it came right back immediately rejected. And that's why your phone is ringing off the hook during this broadcast, Tom.
Yeah. Okay. Yep, indeed. All right. So on a final note, before you get into your Fun Friday, I just wanted to say something real quick.
That was Fun Friday. That was not fun for you?
that was funny. Yes, absolutely.
That was Funny Friday. Jeez, Tom.
I'm sorry. Not fun for me with the phones ringing off the hook and people not listening to us. Oh, look, wait, hold on one second. That's me banging my head against the table. All right. Before we end here, or I just want to make one final sort of note. We don't know what's going to happen into the coming future, with governments and with military and intelligence folks wanting to.
Oh, I think we lost him.
I think they're with military. I'll help him out. With military and intelligence folks constantly disconnecting Tom's phone, and as he's trying to do this broadcast right now. But one thing we know for sure is that we, the people, will be okay. Yeah. Stay informed, stay connected. Whoever you follow, or don't follow anybody, follow yourself. But if we're going to save this planet and all the people on it, it's going to be up to you. It's not going to be up to some guy that could get into an office and a seat where a bunch of operatives run him. It's not going to be somebody in the UN that's telling you this and that. It's not going to be that person. It's going to be you. Mm-hmm. And preferably united yous together. Well, the more people that come together for a common effort, the more likely it is to happen, not only on a consciousness level, but also, coming to the table with your cup half empty. At least leave some room to listen to those around you. You might not have all the answers. Maybe you have some of the answers. Maybe you think you have all the answers and then you figure out you don't. That's happened to me a million times. So, I don't have the answers, and it ebbs and flows. It's an actual war that we're in here. And that war is for the safety and security of the people. And the restoration of the planet, the restoration of humanity, the restoration of our DNA. And if there are people that work in the government, not everybody is evil, so if they want to join with us to do that, then that's great. But we are not going to pay for a service and not get the service. And we do not pay for lip service. Yeah, we don't need that. We've had a lot of that. And if we're going to pay for people to protect us, then they better be protecting us. By us, I don't mean me and Tom, and I mean the entire country and the entire world, and you're going to learn how to do that. It's not theater anymore, it's real. So I think that's pretty much what Tom wanted to say. I know he kind of popped in and out there. I guess your phone probably rang, back. Tom.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry. My computer completely shut off. I had to restart. I apologize. They don't want me to talk anymore.
You need to call your buddies at the NSA, Tom, and tell them, I'm just trying to get on YouTube. That's all I want to do.
Welcome to my world. I'm trying to make sense of it all and trying to bring everyone together. And that's, you call me a Boy Scout all the time because I'm trying to do it. And I have full faith in humanity and the people who have common sense in our government. Unbeknownst to me, there are a few that are common sense in our government, but really it's all about the people now. It's all about citizens, because if governments decide not to come forward, not to survive, we got to pick up the pieces. And I think that's the MO. That's what we need to do. We need to create new structures. We have to be ready for it, regardless of what happens. Yeah.
And on that note, Miss Sunny, you want to wrap us up?
Sure. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Tom, for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone. I promise I'll be on video next time. Thank you.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
Oh, one wants to see that.
I'm
just kidding. It'd be great to see you, Tom.
That wraps up today's news update. Please share UNN with your friends and family. We need everyone to come together and help restore our planet. When news happens in your area, record it and share it with us so we can help you share it with the world. Remember, if it's going to be, it's up to me. I'm Sunny Galt. Join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the real news.